Please, the show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What is up, Nickel City Mafia? Welcome to another edition of Bills Tailgate. This week, we're going to get into the Bills taking on the Commanders, those sneaky Commanders. But Jake, I got to say something, man. Happy anniversary to you and I. I don't know if you know, 2 years ago, on September 26th, in the third week of the season, similar to this one, third week of the season, you and I did our first show together, and it was against the Commanders. The Commanders. Full circle 2 years later, here we are again. And by the way, the Bills won that game in Highmark, 43-21. But dude, it's crazy to think 2 years and we're playing the same team, same week 3. Happy anniversary, my friend.
Happy anniversary, Mike. You stole the words right out of my mouth. Apparently now we could read each other's minds because I was going to say something too. And it just so happened to be week 3 both times too. It's absolutely crazy to think about. So blessed that we were able to get this all together. You found me, and we were able to get this show really kicked off. And look at us now, 2 years later. Unbelievable. Might have a little bit of more full over of beard. Probably gained about 5 pounds since, but hey, we're alive and kicking, baby. And boy, this team, this Commanders team, you said it right in the title. Don't overlook them.
Yeah, don't overlook them. I mean, let's tell the folks. Some of the folks have heard the story, some haven't. But 2 years ago, I had started this channel, be more of a to show my kids, like, get off your butts and do something, guys. Come on. So I start the channel. I quickly realized I need somebody else. I can't do it myself. I put an ad out on Reddit, and your friend Timmy at the time, forwarded it to you. And you were the only one who replied to my Reddit ad looking for a Bills podcaster. And I always say this, it was the only one I needed, the best one I got. I couldn't have gotten any better. So Jake, super happy to have you on the show. And man, 2 years, we've been working hard. And look where we are
crazy.
now. Back then when you joined, I think we might have had 50 subscribers. If that.
67. I remember it.
All
yes,
right,
I do. Yep, 67 subscribers, yeah.
And here we are now, over 1,500. So absolutely crazy. And Nickel City Mafia has got so much going on. So thank you, sir. You were the second member of Nickel City Mafia.
Wow. I appreciate the hell out of you, Mike.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Well, buddy, let's get into it. So, Commanders, week 3. I said it. Don't overlook this team. We got a big game coming up in week 4 against the Dolphins at home. But do not sleep on this team. And they're 2-0. Sam Howell, who's their quarterback, second-year guy, 5th-round pick last year for them. He's 3-0 as a starter. So, let's get into this, Jake. Let's get into knowing what we're up against. So let's start with the defensive side. Tell us about, they got 6 number 1 draft picks on that.
It's absolutely crazy.
Defense. So talk to me, man, about this. Let the folks know. What do they need to know about this defense?
They are relentless. It's a Ron Rivera run defense combined with Jack Del Rio, 2 defensive-minded gurus out there. And they are just loaded with young talent. And you mentioned it, Mike. They have a ton of first-round picks on that defensive line, kind of led by Jonathan Allen, who I think is actually one of the more underrated defensive tackles in the league for as good as he is. He does not get enough recognition, but that entire defensive line is so damn good. And our boy Tim Settle was having a hard time even finding playing time there because he was pushed behind these other dudes who were drafted ahead of him. And it's pretty wild to see. This team is really starting to come together too. I mean, they've got obviously Chase Young, who they took first overall back in 2020. You got Montez Sweat. You got Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen. They were starting a thing before the Eagles started a thing, taking all of one college's defensive linemen. They took Alabama defensive linemen. So it's pretty wild to see. They've really, like I said, they've started to really develop into a nice defense. They're a good young team. They're up and coming, and they have some absolute dogs on that D-line, baby. Let me tell you.
So talk about some of those dogs. I mean, Chase Young, I guess he had missed the first week of the season, and he came back with a purpose last week, had a big game. Talk to us a little bit more about those frontliners, because they got 4 number 1s right on the front line.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, when you look at guys like Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen was drafted in 17. He sort of started this whole thing. He was a defensive tackle from Alabama, very highly touted guy, drafted early on, first round again, as I mentioned. Love Jonathan Allen because he's got the one bar on he's got the bar that runs down on his face mask. That's something you don't see a lot of this day and age in the NFL. So, first off, respect to him for that. You know, I always love the obscure stuff like that, so got to give him a shout out nonetheless. And then you bring in Deron Payne. You know, so I think so at the time, they were the Washington Redskins, then switched over to the Washington football team, now the Washington Commanders. And finally, it feels like that defensive line is full, and they have so much depth. I mean, we talk about the amount of depth that our defensive line has. This Washington team, they have some really, really, really good depth on that D-line. They have guys like Casey Toohill as well, who they took from Philly, who I really like. I think he's a very good young player as well. Defensive end, played there for a little bit, can come in and rotate when Chase Young needs a breather. And by the way, Chase Young, who has been injured, Casey Toohill has gotten some time in place of him. So it's, for them, it's a really good situation because, like the Bills, you can kind of pick and choose and rotate guys and keep everyone sort of fresh. Montez Sweat is on the other side, who is Josh Sweat's brother, I believe. Actually, Josh Sweat plays for the Eagles. Montez plays for the Commanders. And, again, that's a guy that just finds a way to get after the quarterback. So, yeah, so it was Jonathan Allen first in the first round in 17. Deron Payne in 18, the other D tackle. Then they take Montez Sweat in 19, the D end, and then they take Chase Young to complete it in 2020. All in the first round, 4 consecutive years. Pretty incredible. Josh is definitely going to have his hands full. I think, our offensive line has played a whole hell of a lot better, but these guys find a way to get to the quarterback. They find a way to bring pressure, and they're very good up the middle as well.
Yeah, they have a linebacker, Jamin Davis, first rounder in 2020 or 2021. They have Forbes, a cornerback who they drafted this year in the first round. And guess what?
I love that kid.
First round draft choice, he's starting.
Yeah.
I mean, wish we had that situation.
I know it.
Right. But let's say hi to the channel. We got Go Bills podcast out there. Brett, thank you for joining us. Can't wait for the show.
Yeah, Brett.
Tom out there. I don't know. I don't talk the young kids' language. Maybe you can interpret what that means. I don't know. Stolat. I don't know. You haven't included.
You know what? I'm kind of lost on this one too, Tom. You're gonna have to fill me in on that, brother.
Yeah, right. Tom always shocks us with something. We got Timmy Corks out there. Happy anniversary, guys! Watching the show with Stevie Corks.
Oh, let's go! All right.
Had him subscribe. I did see a subscription come in earlier. Who's Stevie?
That's Tim's dad, who, by the way,
all right,
a lot older than what he appears. Apparently, I asked Timmy not too long ago how old Stevie Corks was. Doesn't look a day over 50. Not going to say his actual age. Doesn't look a day over 40. Realistically, this guy is in incredible shape. And shout out to him. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Fired up to have you. Thank you for joining the Nickel City Mafia show.
Is he like Timmy? Does he go to the gym all the time?
I think he did back in his heyday. I know he used to run marathons, and not sure if he still does them to this day, but guy can get after it a little bit, let me tell you.
All right. Well, thank you again, Stevie. Good to have you, man. Hopefully you're here for many more shows, and I hope Timmy filled you in. Buffalo Sabres show. Timmy's going to be hosting, co-hosting, starts October 3rd. Looking forward to that. A lot of people are excited about that show. Big L out there. Big L, you've been around since the first show. Jake and I, 2 years ago in the Commanders. I remember that like it was yesterday. We had a lot of your family and friends on that show out in the channel. And for me, it was my first show doing with somebody else. And it was nice to have all that interaction because I had never had that before. So Big Al, thank you so much for being out there, being a longtime member of the channel. Josh will have to get his throws off fast. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about what are the Bills going to have to do to win this game. And let's see here. Tight ends will have to chip again for Brown. Totally agree. After Jake just told you about this defense for sure. And I think that's that game plan, the similar game plans that we've used the last 2 weeks. I think that's going to be in play again, Jake. And then he's got Tom coming in and saying, Stolat is Polish for 100 years.
I'm a terrible Polak. I should know that. So, fun fact for you, Tom, our last name used to be Pogorski. Sounds like a great fullback last name. And unfortunately, we did shorten it to Podger, which is a great last name, by the way, still. But we don't have the ski to really represent our Polishness. So, unfortunately, I have to usually tell people, yeah, by the way, I'm like super Polish. Now, if you couldn't tell behind me, ton of trinkets. I mean, everywhere you look. I don't even have like actual walls hanging up, but I still found a way to put some of these things on walls. So here we are.
I love it. We got Troy jumping in out there, living in South Orange County.
All right, Troy.
Hey, if you're looking for some real estate out here in California, hit my friend up here, Troy. He does a fantastic job, and he's a Dolphin fan. And good to see you out there, buddy. Stopping in and say hi before my son's baseball practice tonight. Have a great show. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you,
And then
sir.
Trek Reviewer. Good to see you as always, Trek Reviewer. Thank you for joining us tonight. It'll be interesting to see what the channel brings us. So we talked a little bit about that defense, and let's talk about the offense now, because I mentioned it at the top of the show. Sam Howell, 3-0, fifth round pick last year out of North Carolina. And Jake, you watch a lot more college football than I do, but this kid lit it up at North Carolina for 3 years. He was the starter. So talk to the folks and inform us. Tell us a little bit about Sam Howell.
He graded out a lot higher than a fifth-round pick, and the fact that he actually slid to the fifth round is absolutely wild to me. So when the Commanders took him, there were already kind of rumors out there that he would eventually take over that starting job even last year. Although they did have Carson Wentz. And, Carson Wentz, unfortunately, has just turned into a stopgap quarterback for the most part. Now not even playing for a team. But I think they always knew that they had their eventual starter in Sam Howell, even though he was a fifth-round pick. This kid plays well above his draft grade. As you mentioned, Mike, he's already 3-0 in his career. You look at some of the decision-making, too. A lot of quarterbacks, they lack the vision that Sam Howell has already shown. Like, to be able to scan the field, make the right decisions, and place the throws as accurately as he does, the way that he's been able to do so over the last couple of weeks is absolutely incredible. There was a play last week that really impressed the hell out of me. They actually showed on Twitter. I should have sent it to you as a nice clip. We could have probably played it for the show, but just go back and watch it. You could just type it in like Sam Howell nasty throw or something like that. I got to find the guy who actually tweeted it out, but I was taking a look at it, and gosh, I mean, some of the stuff that this kid does, the progression, the decision-making, all that stuff is really impressive. I think the Commanders got their guy, and they have some nice young running backs that are helping him out, too. He's got some weapons now, and this team, like I said, they're up and coming. You can't overlook them one bit, and it all starts with Sam Howell. He's done a really, really good job there.
Yeah, so I was listening to another show that actually is a Commander show, and they were talking about how the Commanders actually had Sam Howell graded as a second or third round pick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think because of the Carson Wentz situation, they didn't jump on him in a second or third round. And when he was there in the fifth round, they just had to take him. Like, this is
what's wild is that no other teams jumped on him. I'm not sure what they saw. Maybe it was like the lack of arm strength that a lot of people. There was some knocks on him about that, and the fact that, sometimes he threw untimely interceptions, which when is there a timely interception, to be honest with you, So I feel like for him, it's just, for them, it was a steal, and for him, it's a great situation to be in.
Yeah, so he's not the tallest, 6'1". He's 220. And I don't know, I didn't check he's not really a running type of quarterback. He can get out, he can move, but he's not that type of guy. He's usually throw first. I mean, I did see, watching some of his film, he does hold like a rookie, kind of like Kenny Pickett, what I saw out of Kenny Pickett this year. He holds onto the ball a little too long at times. A lot of senior quarterbacks even do that. But, yeah, so I think there's an opportunity. He's been sacked 10 times this year, 6 times in his first game, and 4 times in the last game. And when you look at the teams that they beat, they beat the Cardinals 20-16. The Cardinals are pretty much, it's got to be one of the worst teams in the league, although they almost beat the Giants. They got off to a big start.
They've been in every game.
They've been in every game.
They've only lost by one score both games. Yeah,
even though they've been kind of a dumpster fire, just letting people go, they seem to be competing. And then the Commanders were down like 21-3 to the Broncos. The Broncos got off to a red-hot start, and the Broncos, again, were bringing the heat. And I think that's where a place we can take advantage as well against that offensive line. But the Commanders fought back, dude. In the second half, that defense kind of took over the game, and they pulled it out 35-33. So Sam Howell, going to be interesting. He's a rookie, but he's making some really damn good plays. So talk to me a little bit about the playmakers over there on the Commander side.
Well, first it starts with Scary Terry McLaurin, who has been one of the most consistent receivers actually in the league over the last 3 seasons now. 2 straight 1,000-yard years, I believe it is, for him. Drafted out of Ohio State, 3rd-round pick, and actually been in the league since 2019. I'm sorry. It's been longer than I even thought. But really, really like what he brings to the table. This is a guy that goes out there and competes, can stretch the field, and you don't hear a whole lot about him. He is just as humble as they come, and in all honesty, I think he is developing into a kind of like a Keenan McCardell type receiver, a guy that isn't like the biggest superstar in the world, but is going to be consistent and put up the numbers. So I think that's a very good comparison for him, and a very good constant that the Commanders have. Then you pair that with Jahan Dotson, who they took last year in the 1st round, Penn State guy, which I love Penn State. He is one of the most, I guess, one of the biggest high risers of the league this year in his sophomore year. What he did last year, I think he had about 800 yards last year, even receiving, which isn't terrible by any means. This year, he's ready to take the next step. He's looked pretty good in the first 2 games here, but that's their other guy. And then Curtis Samuel, who Ron Rivera was super familiar with, played with him in Carolina, and is more of a gadget guy, a guy you can kind of use like how we used Isaiah McKenzie, but not enough. I feel like he's kind of in a similar situation just because he can be used in so many different ways, and I feel like he just hasn't reached that full potential. There have been signs. There have been so many signs and there's been a few really good games that he stood out, but still kind of waiting to take that next step, but certainly a very good, viable option for them as well. Mike, you are on mute, sir.
Thank you, sir.
There we go.
Thank you for reminding me. So Jahan Dotson, he had actually 61 targets, 35 catches for 523 yards
500.
last year.
Why did I think 800?
523. He had 7 touchdowns, and again, another first rounder, man. Another first rounder on this team.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin, as we know, one of the top receivers in the game. And you mentioned Curtis Samuel. He's kind of their
Curtis
slot
Samuel.
guy. Yeah, right. And then they have Logan Thomas, who's hurt. So I don't know if Logan's going to play this week. And backing him up is John Bates. And they actually have Jamison Crowder on that team as well.
Back to his old stomping grounds. That's where Jamison Crowder actually started his career. So, kind of interesting.
Yeah, so, I watched the last game. I watched the game against Denver. Denver was bringing the pressure, and they were all over Sam Howell. And again, they made some adjustments in the second half, and Howell was able to get things moving. But it all started, it was 21-3. And the Broncos were marching. And then it was Chase who Wilson was scrambling to the left. Chase chased them down and strip sack. Turned that game around. They then went on to score right before half, made it 21-11 at halftime. And then from that point on, they were able to work their way back and win that game. So it was pretty
That was one of the best games of week 2, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a wild finish. The Broncos end up, it's 35-33. They end up going for 2, and they don't make the 2-point conversion. That was a hell of a finish. That was an incredible game to watch.
Yeah, did you talk a little bit about the running back situation there?
Yeah, so, I just briefly mentioned it. So Brian Robinson coming off a really, really good day, and a guy that's really not known for his receiving skills as much as Antonio Gibson is. So they have kind of like a 1-2 punch between those guys. Antonio Gibson is more of the receiving back. He played receiver in college at Memphis, then converted to running back in the NFL, had a 1,000-yard season, and, of course, last year, Brian Robinson, who was a rookie, ended up actually getting shot, and it was crazy. This guy returns, I think it was week 5, I want to say it was, returns and actually does pretty well, but is mainly just strictly just a running back. He doesn't catch the ball a whole lot out of the backfield, so it was really good to see last week as a Commanders fan, not that I am one, but if you are a Commanders fan, seeing a guy like him be able to catch the ball and showcase that skill set as well. So now you got Antonio Gibson, who really has kind of, I don't know if he's fallen out of favor, but has not got as many touches, and I know he's been banged up a little bit too. But Brian Robinson, man, he definitely looks like the lead back there. And again, they have 2 pretty solid running backs there.
Yeah, one thing I noticed in both games, I watched the game, this past game against Denver, but I watched some clips from the first one. They use a lot of screen plays, Jake.
Yeah.
They use a lot of screen plays, kind of help that offensive line. Although, if you look at PFF, dude, you would think they have an amazing offensive line, rated better than the Buffalo Bills offensive line, which is surprising, very surprising. But they do a lot of screens, so we're going to have to be watching for that for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Check review. He's asking, is Justin Shorter done for the year?
He's not officially done for the year, but he's on IR right now, and that's due to, I believe it's a hamstring issue. But yeah, he's on IR right now, so he'll have to at least miss the first 8 games, and at that point we can make a decision on whether we're going to end his season or not, or bring him back.
Yeah, and I think that really depends on. We have so much depth at wide receiver.
Yeah,
There'd have to be something that happens for them to bring him down, in my opinion.
100%.
Because if you bring him down, you're gonna have to either send somebody over to the practice squad or release somebody. So I think they'll hold on. I think, again, unless something happens, some big injury, I think he'll stay on IR all year. Honestly,
I could see that. I could definitely see that. Yeah, and especially with Khalil Shakir catching a touchdown last week, I feel like he's now more in favor with the coaching staff. And listen, although Trent Sherfield hasn't caught a pass, you go back, you watch the film, he's been fantastic on running downs. Now, I do worry a little bit that it's too much of a tell now when he's out there that it's going to be a run, but I think there's some hope, obviously, to get him the football a little bit and get him some targets here moving forward.
So Jake, who's the guy who does Lockdown Bills?
That's Joe Marino, I believe.
All right, Joe Marino. Okay,
Yeah.
so listen. This is the week I travel into San Diego and for my job, and I have 1 week there, 1 week at home where I work. So I'm traveling in, and of course I like listening to his show. And that was a question somebody had: is it too much of a tell if Trent Sherfield is in on the play? But believe it or not, the splits were pretty even. Jake, he was in on. I think he was on a little bit more on the running plays, but the splits, it was like 20-something passing plays, 20-something running plays. So a little surprising there.
Interesting, yeah.
And he also mentioned, like, there's just so many mouths to feed. They're playing so much 12 personnel. I mean, obviously you got Diggs, you got Davis, you got Knox, you got Kincaid, and then that 5th guy, Deontay Hardy, maybe Khalil. I mean, I don't expect, and then you got Sherfield. So I don't expect those guys to get a lot of passes, but I was with you initially when he brought up the question today. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be a tell, but no, it was actually surprising.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see what Trek Reviewer says. I think Shorter will be the gunner if he comes back, and Cam Lewis will be back on the practice squad. You know, he's got the size. He's got the physicality, Trek Reviewer. It wouldn't surprise me.
Now, remember, Trek Reviewer also is very opposed to having Cam Lewis on this roster. I think he's still a little salty that we didn't end up cutting him to begin with, but
yeah,
that is a possibility.
It is, but if he's only bringing that, Cam brings a little bit more, right? Cam can play safety. Cam can play on special teams. He can play corner. He gives you a little bit of everything there. But, yeah, I mean, a 220-pound man running down the field on special teams, buddy, thing to see. Thing to see. And
he played gunner before. He's used to playing that position. He's physical, and he's fast as hell, too. So, absolutely.
So goal line option, are we gonna hand it off to him, or is he gonna be the fullback instead of Gilliam?
I could see, obviously with his size being a red zone threat, you throw it up to a guy like that. That's certainly an advantage. And this guy was the number 1 receiver in his recruiting class. This goes back a little bit ago, but there were some really good players in that recruiting class. Jamar Chase, I believe, was one of them. Amon-Ra St. Brown was another. So, and I know, obviously this is high school coming into college, but he was a Penn State guy, Mike, and I was very excited. Obviously, with that recruiting class, it looked like, hey, just securing another receiver for, a future NFL contract. And Penn State does a hell of a job producing really top-notch receivers.
Yeah, well, I'm a fan of Shorter. I would love to see him get some play time this year. I mean, I'm all about the guys over 6 foot, 220, runs a 4.5. I'm all about that. So if he does give it an opportunity, I think it'd be fantastic. So you mentioned Jahan Dotson, and I know he was their first rounder last year. Is he a taller guy, big guy? Is he just a speedster? What type of receiver is he?
So he's like 5'11", $180. So nothing too crazy size-wise, but he's quick as hell, and he's athletic as they come. And also, he wears number 1. So anyone that wears number 1, has got to be him, right? So I think he... to be honest with you, Mike, I think he could be a really, really effective player in this league, especially with his route running ability, the fact that he could stretch the field a little bit. and he's a freak athlete. Like, he is legitimately a freak of nature. There are some catches that he made while he was at Penn State that are highlight reel catches forever and are some of the best college catches I've seen probably in the last decade. So some of the stuff that he did there, it's just kind of showcase what he's going to do, hopefully in the NFL here. But just an absolute freak of an athlete.
Let's check review. Do you remember the time the Bills used Jason Peters
in
kickoff coverage?
I sure did. Yeah, actually, it's funny because Jason Peters came into the league as a tight end. He had to convert to left tackle. He put on a ton of weight, and fortunately for him, it was his best position, and it was his best option, honestly. So, but that's kind of where he started. He was on the kickoff team, and then eventually they're like, you know what? Let's bulk this guy up a little bit. He's a really good athlete. He could probably play left tackle, and that's where he ended up being. So now he's a Hall of Famer, and he just signed with the Seahawks. Pretty crazy. 41 years old.
Wow. That is crazy. So listen, we talked about the defense. We talked a little bit about the offense. Now let's talk about what the Buffalo Bills have to do to win this game, Jake.
I would say, number one, neutralize that defensive line as much as you possibly can. I think Josh Allen did a really, really good job last week of getting rid of the football and taking what the defense gives them. I think you're going to have to continue that going into this game a little bit. They got a kid named Emmanuel Forbes who I think, has a chance to be a Pro Bowl corner in this league. He looks so damn good. He had a big play last week, big play the following week before that. Actually, it was like the game-sealing pass deflection against the Cardinals. Well beyond his years as a rookie. These rookie corners coming in, Mike, they've been so overly developed and ready for the league. It's absolutely incredible to see. But, yeah, honestly, it starts up front, and it's so cliche to say, but we talked about it. These guys are, first-round picks. All four of them, their starting D-line, are all first-round picks, and they have a ton of depth behind them. That defense is relentless. They come at you in every which way, and very aggressive as well with Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera. They scheme up some really, really impressive stuff. So, I think the game plan going into this is not going to change much with Ken Dorsey's script. It's going to be, hey, Josh, take what the defense gives you. You might be able to stretch the field if it's a broken play, but don't look downfield too much. Look for your underneath stuff. Look for your tight ends. Look for your backs out of the backfield and play a really sound game and don't turn the ball over because that's how this team capitalizes. That's how they rallied last week against the Broncos.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's going to be kind of a similar script to what we saw last week, and with the 12 personnel, with those tight ends helping out, and then help them block and then slip out for the underneath stuff. I love that play. I think that's going to work a lot. Very successful. We didn't talk a little bit about their linebacking core and their secondary. Can you talk a little bit about that? What's your thoughts on them?
Well, you mentioned Jamin Davis, he is a really, really good linebacker. I really like that kid a lot. He's a former first-round pick as well. I mentioned some other guys too. Actually, Casey Tuhill's a D-end now. He used to be an outside linebacker, converted to D-end. He's been playing in place a lot of Chase Young, so he's got some good experience rushing on the edge. But going back to the linebackers, Cody Barton's their other kid. I think he came from Seattle, I want to say. He is their inside guy. He played for Utah. I think he's been in the league for about 5 years now, and a very good, solid inside linebacker for them. But going back to Jamin Davis, I mean, this dude, he is legit, man. First-round pick in 2021. Came out of Kentucky. He's 6'4", 234, Mike. Great size on that young man. Yeah, that's the guy that you wanted. Similar size to your boy Jack Anderson, who, obviously the Bills didn't end up getting. Jack Campbell, not Jack Anderson. What am I saying? Thank you.
Is Jack Anderson?
Who's Jack Anderson?
Who
am I saying Jack Anderson? What am I saying there? I'm talking too fast. But yeah, Jamin Davis, he's an absolute stud, man. He's one of the better younger linebackers in this league. Only 24 years old, has incredible size, super athletic, and just an absolute force for that team. So, like who they have, it kind of reminds me a little bit of what the Bills have, or what they had with Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds, just kind of flip-flop because Jamin Davis is their weak side linebacker, Cody Barton's their inside linebacker. He's like their surefire tackler. And they got Jamin Davis, who's this like athletic specimen and really big dude. So they're really good on the inside there, but it does really start up front for them. That's kind of what makes them tick. And, on the back end, too, they have Kendall Fuller and they have Emmanuel Forbes, who I talked about. He's the rookie corner there, and he's a first-round pick for them this year, 2023, out of Mississippi State. Yeah. And, man, he's got some really good potential.
Yeah, the thing about him, though, Jake, I mean, what I've seen, at least in the game, and what I heard this other person talking about, he's small-framed, man. So if we can run on the outside, his physicality's.
I don't know. So
I don't know.
he's small. He's 6'1", so he's long.
Yes.
But his height, or his weight rather, he's like only $180. So
Yeah.
maybe that's what they meant by it. Because
That's
I was
what-
going to say
that's
he's
what
very
they-
long. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's more
Gotcha.
like, being able to tackle, run support.
Yeah. Yep.
They thought the physicality wasn't quite there. I mean, he's just a rookie, so it's only his second week. But I think you mentioned the same script as last week, running the ball. I mean, I love the combination. Keep bringing in Latavius Murray, Damian Harris. I think that 1-2-3 punch was fantastic, and I should say 1-2-3-4 punch because your guy Reggie Gilliam, can't talk about running backs without bringing up the fullback, right? Not with Jake Podger on the show.
That's absolutely right. I mean, anytime 41's in the game, good stuff seems to happen, and it, didn't surprise me last week that every time he was in the game, some big plays seemed to happen. So yeah, let's keep using 41.
Yeah, so we kind of talked about how we can take advantage of them. I know same game script pretty much, and I would love to see. I hope. I mean, I'm ready for a big play downfield. I'm ready for I think it's about to happen soon. That's going to be one of my bold predictions. It seems like everything's been take what you can get, which is good. Take what the defense is giving you, but I think there's going to be an opportunity in this game to go with a big play. We're going to hit a big play. I do want to say that, so on the offensive side, they actually signed Andrew Wiley from KC, tackle, right? They brought him over, paid him 3-year, $24 million deal, and they brought over Nick Gates from the Giants at $16.5 million, and that was a 3-year deal. Although I looked on our lads, and I think they got him playing center right now for them.
They do. Yep, he's
Right.
their center right now.
Right.
Yep, that's correct. They have Sadiq Charles on the other side there at left guard, and then I think they have Sam Cosmi as the right guard right now. And Sam Cosmi was their second-round pick in 2021. Pretty solid guard for them. Good player.
If you remember when we did our show, like the Kansas City Chiefs, remember we were going through the certain teams and we were saying, we were comparing, player by player. And we mentioned, like, we think, we thought they would take a big hit because they lost Andrew Wiley. And all the Chiefs fans were all over us. And who was the other guy they lost, the big guy, their other tackle?
Orlando Brown.
Yeah, Orlando Brown.
Yep.
And they said, you guys need to go look at the stats there because these guys gave up a ton of pressures. And that's what I saw in last week's game as well. I saw Wiley giving up a ton of pressure. So they're going to need to get some help on that side. And let's go to the, Tom coming in with the super chat. Always want to
Tom, thank you,
first.
sir. We appreciate
Thank
you, man.
so
Seriously.
much, buddy. Kicking power or throw power this game.
Well, don't even get me started on Tress Way because listen, if you remember from our very first show, Mike, you knew right off the bat you got kind of a weird dude as your other host because one of my key players for them was Tress Way. So we want to talk a little kicking power, Tom. Let's table that for a little bit later on in the show, but freaking love that you brought that to the table here. Throw power-wise, I mean, Josh Allen has the stronger arm out of him and Sam Howell, but do I think there's going to be some deep shots in this game? Most likely not.
Okay. Check review. If you were Washington, would you take A.J. Epinesa in the 3rd round for Chase Young?
If I'm Washington, I'm not doing that. No. I mean, you can't take your first overall pick and trade him for that. Now, while you can maybe justify it because Chase Young's been banged up, he's been injured a lot. I think talent-wise alone, he can just wreak havoc on an offense, and he's still so damn good. We saw what he did last week against the Broncos.
Yeah, I agree. So talk to me about on defense. I kind of said it already. I think we can take advantage of that offensive line a little bit, but they are going to throw screens. So they throw a ton of screens, and you're going to have to defend that. So talk to me a little bit about what else you think we need to do.
You got to stay honest. I think one of the biggest things is, our Bills defense is known to over pursue, especially our linebackers. So you can't get too twisted up with that. You can't get sucked inside too much because they will take it to the house. They've been able to do that with these two backs, especially now Brian Robinson showing that he can catch the ball out of the backfield a little bit. They mainly use Antonio Gibson as that guy. They can also use Curtis Samuel as a screen guy as well. Jahan Dotson on the smoke screen plays, and even Terry McLaurin. So really all three of them, they can use them in different ways, and then they're two running backs, like I mentioned. So you got to be honest with this team, and you can't get sucked in too much because that's when they're going to take advantage of it and take it to the house.
I was just looking at Sam Howell's college career, dude. 92 touchdowns.
He put up some numbers.
He had 38 in his rookie year, in his freshman year. 38 touchdowns. He threw for over 3,600 yards. 30 touchdowns in 2020. and 24. He seemed to be going down year by year, but still, dude, he put up 92 touchdowns, only 23 interceptions, and threw for, my goodness, 10,283 yards in 3 years in college. Man.
It's a damn good career. And remember, they only play 12 regular season games, Mike. So now he did have some bowl game stats added in there, but still, pretty damn impressive.
So I'd love to hear from the channel, like, what are your thoughts? What do the Bills have to do to win this game? I mean, we kind of talked about it on offense. Take what the defense gives you. They have 6 first-round picks on that team. But we've seen in the past couple games, they gave up 33 points to the Broncos. They can give up points, and I think there's a case for us to run the ball. I mean, like, how do you stop a good front line? You know, run the ball down their throats, run it right at them, and use a lot of that 2 tight end situations, the 12 personnel that we've been using. We talked about that, and then Steph Diggs, I look for him to have a big game.
I do too. I think no disrespect to the Rook, Emmanuel Forbes, or Kendall Fuller, but I like our guys a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. And then on defense, again, for us, it's all about taking advantage of that offensive line, but staying. I mean, again, just don't get burnt by the screen passes. So let's talk about it, Jake. So we're at the point of this show. Let's see, what do we got here? We got Jay out there. What do we got here?
Hell yeah, Jay! Welcome back, baby.
Pen last time I was out, Thurman was our running back, and Flutie versus Johnson. Holy cow!
Boy, you have a lot to catch up on. I bet. Listen, when you get to see Josh Allen play, I hope he has the game of his life just for you, because you got to see the magic that is Josh Allen. Welcome back to the real world, baby. Listen, this Bills team, a little bit different than that 90s team. But guess what? I think we're here to stay, and this is our year, baby. So good time to be out. That's for damn sure. Hope everything is well, and hope you're on the right path.
Yeah. Are you in Buffalo, Jay, by any chance? And then let's see. We got Trek Reviewer. How do you like our kickoff return man, Damian Harris?
He had a nice return last week. You know, I honestly, it was one of my bold predictions that I didn't actually say to you, Mike. I said to one of my buddies at work, I said, you know what? I think Damian Harris is going to have a house call. And when it almost happened, wow. I was pretty fired up. Not a guy you normally see returning kicks. I think typically you would expect it to be a guy like Deontay Hardy or Khalil Shakir, but instead it's Damian Harris back there. I think Khalil Shakir is the other guy. But yeah, I'm here for it. Shoot, I mean, if he can contribute in other ways and be a return guy, why not?
Yeah, and then we got Christopher out there. Go Bills. Thank you, Christopher.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate you joining. And what do we got here? Go Bills podcast. Bills sweep the NFC East this year. Mark my words.
And listen, the NFC East has been our biggest thorn in our side. So, Jay, we lost a lot of big games to the NFC East teams, being the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Washington Redskins at the time. So, hey, let's avenge all those years that we lost Super Bowls to these teams and went out and sweep them. Brett, I'm with you, brother. I think we sweep them all.
Wow, I hope so. I mean, one at a time, man. One at a time.
That's right. Don't overlook them. They're all tough games, and especially with you talk the Commanders. The Cowboys are really the top of that division right now.
You got Philly and Dallas.
Philly too.
Goodness.
I mean, Philly's still hanging around, of course, too. But I think Dallas is really the team to beat in the NFC East right now. But yeah, good points.
I remember those guys in the early '90s. Yeah,
it's crazy. I can't even imagine. You know, I guess if you really you go back to that era. Yeah, I mean, it's like the NFC East. That was like an incredible division. You had, although the Eagles weren't as good as they are now. I think they were kind of in their downfall at the time where it was Flutie versus Johnson. That's when they were in the early days of. Actually, they probably just took Donovan McNabb with their first-round pick back then. But the Cowboys, yeah, I mean, they were cream of the crop.
Yeah. What do we got here? He says, it's even been longer for me because Todd Collins, Billy Joe Horvath, and Alex Van Pelt were the QBs.
Isn't that crazy?
Completely. And then including the Super Bowls, Bills Eagles to win our first Super Bowl ever.
Oh, I would love that, Brett.
Yeah.
Would absolutely love that.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, that is the one team we haven't played in the Super Bowl. I mean, we lost to the other three, and it would be nice. I was worried about that last year. I'm like, if we go to the Super Bowl and we play the Eagles and we lose to the NFC East for the fourth time, Fifth time.
Oh,
Right? It would have been the
brutal.
fifth time because we lost to the Cowboys twice in the 90s. And we lost to the Giants, and we lost to Washington at that time. Crazy
Yep.
stuff. Let's see here. What do we got? We got armchair scouting corner out
Oh,
there.
no. You must have missed the very first part, how I was just talking up Terry McLaurin. He's an absolute dog.
Oh, yeah,
I think
yeah.
he's like Keenan McCardle 2.0. Jahan Dotson, this guy's an up-and-comer. And then Curtis Samuel is a gadget guy for them who can do a little bit of everything. And then Logan Thomas, former Buffalo Bill, who was actually a quarterback converted to tight end, played a little tight end for the Bills, really tall target for them. Not sure if he's going to play. I know he's injured right now. John Bates is their backup. But no disrespect to them at all. You guys have some very, very nice weapons there. Sam Howell is a very lucky man because I think your team right now, the offense, has been playing very well. They've been very in sync. And those are guys not to overlook whatsoever.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Logan Thomas, but he is in concussion protocol, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Based on the show that I watched today that had, basically it was a Bills show that had somebody from ESPN that covers Washington. And he thought that Logan Thomas would be out this week based on the concussion that he took.
Yeah, I think he's
last
going to
game.
be.
So we'll see. But yeah, armchair scouting corner. And is that, I always wonder, what's that picture of right there? What can you see? At first I thought it was a
see.
Madden cover, but it's not. It looks like it has.
Can't tell.
It is. Yeah. Who was this? Who was this? JP Lossman?
I can't tell if he's joking around with me now or
I don't
what.
believe that, right?
But man, I actually have a jersey back there of
Well,
JP
it's
Lossman.
Jake
I also
Scotty.
have a Drew Bledsoe. I love JP Lossman. I mean, this dude had a monster arm, just couldn't really figure it out up here. But yeah, those were the days, man. He had one pretty good year. Him and Lee Evans, that was a nice connection back in like 2006. I think he threw for like over 3,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, 14 picks. But then after that, it just, all kind of went downhill.
I mean, you thought he was going to be the savior, didn't you?
I did. I sure did, yeah. And the Bills traded with the Cowboys to get that pick.
And then truck review. I've always found it dumb that the Cowboys were in the
NFC, yeah.
NFC East.
Yeah, it's weird. I never really understood that either. You look at even like the Dolphins too, being in the AFC East. I guess they're on the East Coast, but like there's other teams that I guess could have qualified. Maybe you move a team from the AFC South and move them to the AFC East, and then the Dolphins to the AFC South. But now it's just tradition at this point, so you got to keep traditional rivals.
Yeah. Hey, I always forget to say this. If you're new to the channel, give us a like, give us a comment, and drop a nickel on that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate you guys and all the interaction that you have with us. Before we get into like predictions and bold predictions, I did want to mention some NFL news. So the Bears defensive coordinator Williams resigns from position with the team.
What a mess.
And yeah, Rams trade Cam Akers to the Vikings. Saquon's ruled out with ankle injury for Thursday Night Football versus the 49ers. And then Kareem Hunt returns to the Browns. You had mentioned it last night on our fantasy football show. I saw you chime in there with Jeremy and Chris. And man, I don't know if our waivers already went through. I gotta see. I didn't see Kareem available when I was looking. But
I think most people probably picked him up at the beginning of the year because it was only a matter of time before he actually did sign with someone. And you knew any team he'd sign with, he would be a contributor for. So a lot of teams actually already had picked him up early on.
By the way, I came back with a big win this week. Big win in our fantasy football league. And what's funny, it was the only team I could have beat. Every other team outscored me, but that's fantasy football, man. I scored what I needed to score, and I'm back. I'm back, baby.
Listen, that the first week was a little bit of a beatdown. I'm sorry I had to do that to you.
You did, but you know what? Let's just
humbling.
I totally forgot that we had this league. I did, and of course I start Kelsey, who didn't even play, right?
Yeah.
So funny stuff. But yeah, you would have whipped me. Even though I had all those players that I had, your team just lit it up. Let's see. He's like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Cincinnati would make sense in the AFC and NFC.
You remember that old AFC Central division? It was Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Baltimore. I think Tennessee was in that division too. That was back in the day when you had that old Ravens-Titans rivalry, Eddie George versus Ray Lewis. Man, that was, you want to talk about black and blue battles. That was wild back in the day, man. Freaking love it.
All right, here. Did a Lions wide receiver day-to-day Saints safety suspended. Let me see who that is. Right
Oh,
there.
Marcus May, yeah, for PEDs. Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, former Jet Marcus May, by the way.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into, first, before we give our score prediction, let's give two bold predictions, Jake, each of us.
All right, bold
And
prediction.
the channel,
Ooh.
come on out there, channel. I want to hear your bold predictions. Just throw it out there. Could be for either side, either team. And then we're going to get in the score prediction and end it.
The Bills' O-line holds the Washington Commanders' defense to 0 sacks. That's my first bold prediction.
Well, I love that. That would be
We talked about how
that
great
would be
that D-line
incredible.
was. That would be incredible, and that would be a statement game for them. You know, I think they're still receiving some unnecessary criticism. I think they played extremely well and played above our expectations thus far this year. So, yeah, that's my first one. My second one, I think, is going to be 0 punts from our boy Sam Martin.
Oh my goodness, dude. That is bold.
How about
As
that?
bold as they come. Now I will say this. So the Bills, Josh Allen's been sacked 7 times.
Yep.
5 times against the Jets, 2 times last week against the Raiders. This defensive line is better than the Raiders. They're more athletic at the very least. They do make mistakes. Chase is still young. And, Josh might have some room to run because he pins his ears back and Josh may be able to take advantage of that and find some running room. But that's a bold statement, my friend. I hope that holds true, but I think they can do it if they plan properly and they did what they did last week. I think that's a possibility. But wow, what a bold one! And then
Will Josh Allen? I have a question for you,
Yeah,
Mike. Just thinking about this now. So not really a bold prediction per se, but the last 2 seasons when Eric Bieniemy, the now Washington Commanders offensive coordinator, when he's been on the field, Josh Allen has hurdled someone. The last 2 regular season meetings against Eric Bieniemy, back last year obviously, and then the year before. Does he do it a third time?
You know what? I feel like Jake. I call Josh Jake. I do it all the time, whether I call Jake Josh or Josh Jake. I get them confused. They look so much alike.
Hey, I
I
appreciate
feel like
that.
Josh Allen, he's been already trying to plan that hurdle. Like he's been hurdling like last week. And I'm like, why are you doing that? But
Yeah.
that would be a bold prediction. I'm not going to use that for my bold prediction, but dude, third time's a charm, man.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Anytime Eric Bieniemy is on the field, he's got to show out for him. So I think it's going to happen.
All right. So you said no punts from the Bills and no sacks. Those are your bold predictions.
That's
All
right.
Before I give mine, let's go over to the channel here and see some of the other predictions here. By the way, let's see. Track reviewer. Woo. 42
Jeepers.
to
I mean, give a little more respect than that. I mean,
No.
3 points? That's crazy.
I've already said, I already got in my mind, I am not predicting blowouts this year. I'm not.
Nope,
I'm not
can't
doing
do it.
Hyde +1 with a pick.
Okay, I
All
like
right,
that, Tom.
I like that one. Go Bills podcast. Bold prediction. Dig goes off for over 200 yards this week. I would like that. He's in my fantasy team, so let's go.
I got him in 2 leagues, so I would love that as well, Brett. By the way, going back to Tom's comment, I love this. We'll wait 1 second on that one. I want to go back to Tom's comment about Micah Hyde. Left last game with an injury again.
Hammy. Yeah.
Are we concerned at all about Micah Hyde? I mean, the safeties in general, I feel like have kind of looked a little older this year. No disrespect to them. I still think they are the best duo in the NFL. But are we hitting the panic button at all, Mike? Are you feeling a little nervous about that, or what's your take?
I'm not hitting the panic button. They do look a little rusty. They do look like 2 guys coming off of injuries, and we know Hyde missed pretty much the whole season last year. I'll tell you what, it really depends on how long this hammy keeps him out for. And I'm not pushing the panic button. No, what reason why I'm not pushing the panic button is I think we brought in some nice depth with Taylor Rapp. And, if Hyde has to miss a game, I feel okay with Rapp back there. I kind of do.
Me too.
So I'm not pushing I'd be curious to see what the channel thinks. I'm not pushing the panic button yet with those 2, but I haven't heard an update yet on his hammy. He's probably going to be questionable up until I'll probably get more information on like Friday or Saturday to see what he's been doing. Let's see what else we got. I love this one. And again, I have Kincaid sitting on my bench behind Kelsey. and he's could do this. I see a game like this coming soon for Dalton Kincaid. So I love that bold prediction. 9 receptions, 120 yards. So, Jake, when we were talking about Kincaid, I think we were trying to predict in the year how many targets he'd have, right? And I think you were like kind of on the low end, 60-ish, but I think you might have
60.
changed this 60, right around there.
Yep.
We know he has 9 receptions, but can you look it up real quick? Like, how many targets did he have? Because you said 60 targets, but he's not 9 receptions, and I feel like he's probably caught most of the targets that was thrown.
Yeah,
his way.
he definitely has. Yeah, let me take a
So-
look here. Go to
So
Pro
on that
Football
pace
Reference.
there, if you average that out, I mean, what do we got? 4 times 17. You're about 68 receptions. I think he's going to blow away those 60 targets that you kind of put out there.
I think you're spot on with that, Mike. Let's see here. Yeah, 10 targets, 9 catches. How about that?
Right,
90%
right.
completion percentage.
Yeah. So 10 targets is 5. What does he got? 5 to 7, 30. He's got 85 targets at this pace. And I think you're going to see some bigger games. I don't know, man.
Yeah, he's climbing upwards for
I
sure.
don't
There's
know.
no doubt.
Could be close to 80 to 90 targets. Let's go. Let's keep that going.
Yeah.
What else we got? So I love that truck reviewer. Bills 34, 10, 300 passing for Josh Milano with another pick. Wouldn't that be sweet? 3 in a row. Matt Milano he's playing at another level right now. So
He's
I
unbelievable.
wouldn't be surprised. And then
Does the Italian Stallion finish with 17 interceptions this year? He's got an interception every single game thus far. I mean, might as well, right?
All right, so here's the trivia question for you. What linebacker holds the record for most interceptions in a year? Do you know this?
In general or for the Bills? Because I believe for the Bills it's
I'm
Mike
just saying-
Stratton.
I'm just saying in general. I don't even know what that'd be. 17
There
would be
was
a
a
record.
linebacker a couple years ago, I think, who had 8, and I'm trying to think of who that was now. That's a great question, but I think Mike Stratton is for the Bills. I can give you that one. I think it was 7 interceptions
7. All
back,
right.
7 or 8. It might have been 8 actually, back in the 60s.
So,
I'm gonna look that up real quick. Actually, 1 second.
Go Bills podcast. Allen almost hurdled. Yeah, he seems to be trying to hurdle. He's trying to do it. He tried to hurdle at the goal line, and his teammate from college took it easy on him. Kind of could have slammed.
I
him, but he
misspoke.
didn't.
I'm sorry. It was his rookie year. He had 6 interceptions.
6. All right.
I don't know why I thought it was 8.
Jake Allen, the new backup quarterback from Topper. Yes, sir.
Topper, I appreciate you, sir.
I love it, man. That's fantastic.
Hell yeah.
And seems like he is leaning towards being out. Who's that, Brett? Are we talking about Logan? Or no?
Probably
you're
Logan
talking
Thomas.
About, or is he talking about Hyde? He might be talking about Micah Hyde.
Oh,
That's what we're
maybe
talking
Micah
about.
Hyde. Yeah, because he did say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says, Truck Reviewer, I think the safeties next year will be Rapp and Hamlin. I think it'll be Rapp and Cam Lewis.
What about Christian Benford? Any chance he
Ooh.
converts to safety?
I don't know.
He's been playing
dude.
so well at the corner position. I feel like.
If he has a good year, why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you? And then
Yeah.
let's see. So yeah, did not practice today. It's only Wednesday. That doesn't surprise me for a vet. Topper, I'm looking for Kincaid to finally have a breakout game going over 100. I love it. I can see it happening. 10 targets, 9 targets. What's that? Brett? What are you talking about?
Oh,
there?
he's talking about Dalton Kincaid's targets to catches. So yeah, 10 targets, 9 catches, on pace for 85 for
85
600.
receptions.
Low average. Now you got to remember a lot of the stuff has just been underneath little stick routes for him for the most part. But I'm okay with that. He's been playing very physical. In the first game, it was 4 for 29. And then this past game, it was 5 for 43. So he's getting a little bit better. Bob Smith. There was a Bob Smith who played for the
1952.
Lions.
Wow. That's impressive.
Interesting.
And then
That's pretty damn good. 9 picks. Holy smokes.
All right, let me give you my bold predictions here. So I kind of already said it. I don't know if it's so much of a bold prediction, but we hit over a 50-yard touchdown. Whether it's on the run or a throw, on offense, we're going to hit a big one on Sunday. The other bold prediction is Taron Johnson. No, I always use that one. I was gonna throw that out there because I always say Taron Johnson with a pick 6, but I feel like I'm putting too much pressure on the young man. So let's change this up a little bit and say Groot finally has a breakout game 3 sacks.
Okay. Wow. I like that.
3 sacks.
Very nice, Mike. 3 sacks.
We're due. Let's
I
see
agree.
what-
And I think it's
Yeah.
been a thing with the Bills. You know, everyone's wondering where all these sack numbers are. My dad was one of them. He was talking
Yeah.
last show. Why haven't the Bills gotten a ton of sacks? So, how about it? Let's start it off 3. I love that.
Topper, how about Elam making a conversion to free safety? As aggressiveness might make it a good fit. So they had mentioned, we thought before Benford won the cornerback spot, cornerback 2, that they were gonna, have him play safety. But he
Yeah.
was just so darn good at corner. I don't think you take him away from that, like we just said. The good thing is when Elam gets to that point, that age in his career where it's time to move, he'll move back to safety and have a fantastic career. I don't think you do that for now. Let's see how this plays out, right?
He's got the bloodlines for it. His dad played safety with the Browns, and I think the Falcons as well. And then his uncle, Matt Elam, was a first-round pick for the Ravens about maybe a decade or so ago. He was a free safety as well.
But you know
So
what? I'm sorry,
could be
Topper.
interesting.
I was thinking Benford. I was
yeah,
on
you were
the
saying
Benford thing.
yeah. I knew what you
Right.
meant though. It's all right.
Yeah. But the rest of the folks may not have. So Elam making a conversion. Man, he's got great size, great speed. I think he'd be fantastic back
Runs in the
there.
family.
Oh
Runs
my
in the
goodness,
family.
yeah,
Abram
yeah.
Elam and Matt Elam. I mean,
So
shoot.
Topper, that's a good point, man. That's a great point. I just want to see him out there. I hope. I mean, he's been inactive for the first 2 games. I mean, what is going on there? I hope we can see him activated soon. I would
Yeah.
love to see him activated this week. I feel like we're going to need some press coverage against the Dolphins. So let's get him out there. Let's get him, shake the rust off.
I agree. He played very well last year against the Dolphins, too. He kind of shut down Tyreek Hill, so maybe that's the answer. Maybe we're just holding him out till then. I don't understand it. I mean, the fact that he can't even play special teams is kind of crazy to me, Mike, so not sure what path we're going with Kyrie
Yeah,
Elam
so
right
nothing
now.
around town, huh? What are the people at the office saying to you, man? 'Cause
Not a
you're
word. No,
5
people
minutes
are-
from the stadium.
Yeah, people are just really confused, to be honest with you.
You think you can walk over to tomorrow, kind of talk?
One Bills drive, I'm going to head
Bills
over there. I'm
drive,
going
say, what the
to get
heck's
to the
going
bottom
on?
of it. Yeah.
My goodness. And then, so Good Wills podcast. Same question you had said about Elam. So, yeah, sorry earlier. I was still on the Benford thing. But, yeah, Elam, man, my goodness. Not a bad idea, guys. Let's see. If Hyde doesn't play Sunday, then that's okay. Again, because we added depth, right? We added Taylor Rapp. It'd be interesting. And again, like we were saying earlier, they do look a little rusty. And if he's got a hammy, Jay, like if it's not 100%, don't play. Don't
Yeah.
play. Get well.
Yeah,
right?
really.
Get well.
100% agree.
Yeah, I'd rather him be out one game than out for a season. Totally agree with you, Christopher, there.
Yeah.
So Christopher coming in and saying 27-20 Bills beat the spread is 6 points. So they covered the spread. All right. They covered the spread last week handily. And I remember somebody, I forget who it was, who asked us, you think they'll cover the 10 points? You said for sure, and I hope they took your advice. I said no. By the time I said no only because I'm
A
superstitious.
little reverse
man.
psychology, that's
Exactly.
all.
I'm
Yeah.
superstitious. Come on now. Christopher with the Go Bills. Elam is too handsy for cornerback. Yeah, that's I don't know. Look, I see a lot of corners out there that are handsy. I do.
Yeah.
And,
Sauce Gardner being one of them.
Yeah, Sauce Gardner, who people say is the best corner out there right now. Very handsy.
Yep.
And Benford last week. So Benford, they threw the flag, they picked it up. But what I think saved Benford and what I think Elam, just turn your head, man. Turn your head. When you turn your head, it's a different story. But if you're not turning your head, they're going to throw that flag all the time. But yeah, Elam is he's been handsy, but I don't know, Jake, last year, whenever he was in, were there any games that you can remember that he
Not
cost
many.
us because of a PI call?
Oh, he never cost us a game. There was a couple PI calls on him, but it wasn't a make or break situation. And I feel like all the games he played in were pretty big games.
Yeah.
And he ended up coming up with an interception in a couple of those.
Yeah, I always feel like, if he's coming in and making huge plays, interceptions on Pat Mahomes, he had a couple picks last year, a couple big 4th down stops.
Yeah.
I mean, every corner in the league, every corner has PIs, pass interference calls on them, right?
Right.
And I'd like to know his number. I don't have the stat off the top of my head, but dude, I'll tell you what, he's so fast. He's physical. He can stay. And never did I ever see him beat. Like, if there's a pass thrown his way, he is on that receiver like glue. I just don't know what's happening. It's disturbing. I'm going to stop talking about it for a second.
No, I agree. By the way, Mike, I had to look this up because it was killing me. So,
All right.
the linebacker I was thinking of, it was a Bills linebacker with 8 interceptions. That same year, 1960, Archie Matsos, all-pro linebacker for the Bills, had 8 interceptions in 1960. Mike Stratton with 6. So that's why I was thinking, I knew it was a Bills linebacker in my head, but I guess it's Bob Smith anyways. But I just looked up Bob Smith. He's a defensive back, technically. Maybe he's like a rover guy, maybe like a Mark Barron type back in the day.
So not technically a linebacker.
Yeah, kind of interesting. But Bob Smith also played with the Bills in like 1948, ended up playing with the Lions that year in 1952 where he had 9 interceptions. So I had to get that because it was killing me. I'm like, I know a Bills linebacker had 8 interceptions in the 60s, and it was Archie Matsos, who I actually took, if you remember, back when we did our all Bills teams, I took him as one of my linebackers. Yeah.
That was fun. I remember that. That was a blast. We should do that again.
Oh, yeah.
Trek reviewer is saying, I know he's hurt right now, but I would love to see the Bills get wide receiver tight end or Rondé Gatson 2 from Syracuse. I don't know much about him. What do you know about him, Jake?
Well, he's kind of like a hybrid. He's 6'5", like 230, and I guess for him, it's like finding the right fit, whether he plays tight end or receiver in the NFL. Could be like Shannon Sharp, when he comes to the league. That's how Shannon Sharp was. He was like too small to be an actual tight end, but he was just a really big receiver and a really good receiving threat. Now, Rondé Gadsden's dad played with the Dolphins and was known for some of those really acrobatic catches of the early 2000s. He had 2 that really come to mind for me, and great bloodlines there. And, yeah, he's playing for Syracuse right now. He's a little banged up, but that is a really good name, Trek Reviewer. I freaking love it, man.
Yes, I want to ask you, before I give our final predictions, I want to ask you a question. Have we missed Tremaine Edmonds?
No, not whatsoever. Nope.
Have you kept an eye on him, what he's doing over there for Chicago?
I have, and right now I think the Bears' defense is ranked amongst the last in the league. So things are not going well. Obviously, Alan Williams, I don't know what's going on with that. There's been rumors that the FBI raided his house.
Oh my God.
That they raided Hallis Hall. And then there's other rumors that that's totally false, and he's taking a step back for his own health, and that he's going to plan on coaching again. So I'm not sure what that all is. We tried getting in touch with one of our buddies who's a scout for the Bears. He's not giving a whole lot of info. I think everyone's kind of keeping it close to the chest there, of course. So I guess time will tell with what happens there. But from my understanding, things are not going well there. I think Matt Eberflus is taking over the defensive play calling there. He comes from a defensive background. So hopefully they can get back on the right track. I know Justin Fields, too, talking about even being traded already. So not good, not good. But to say, to go back to what you're asking about Tremaine Edmonds being on the Bears and how they're doing, yeah, I just think the chemistry isn't quite there right now.
So he has 24 tackles.
Plenty of tackles.
He had 16 last week. But again,
yeah,
if you're making tackles 5 yards down the line, which is always something we had said, right? Like, I didn't watch any of his games, so I can't say. He has had 2 tackles for losses, and he's had no sacks, and do they have any interceptions? No interceptions. By the way, so I was asking the other day on our show, how many interceptions did Tremaine Edmonds have for us during his career? And I didn't know the answer, but I have that up right now. So he had 5 interceptions for the Buffalo Bills while he played with us. Bernard has 1 in his second game. So he's off to a good start.
Yeah.
Maybe we can catch this. So don't miss him at all. And I agree with you. Even when, we've given up some big plays on the outside on the run game. We gave up an 83-yard run, which is a backbreaker to Breece Hall after Josh Allen had pinned him inside the 5-yard line. Notice how I spun that? It's not a punt. It was Josh Allen pinned them inside the 5-yard line, and then the first play of the game, he goes for 83 yards.
Yeah.
He also had another big run for 26. Between the two runs, he was like over 100 yards, right? And people said he ran all over us. Well, it was 2 plays. But we had those issues when Tremaine Edmonds was there. even the previous 2 years, right? Previous 3 years, there always seems to be a big run that we give up. And we didn't see that last week. So the Bills shut that down, and I hope that continues, Jake. So I'm fully with you. But talk to me about Bernard. What is your thoughts 2 weeks in, Bernard? You know, what's your grade on this young man? What are you seeing from him?
I think the first game you could tell there were some things that were, taking him a little bit longer to process, but you could see him settling in and getting comfortable. And the first game, I think he actually led the team in tackles with 11. And, at times kind of doing some things similar to Tremaine Edmonds, sort of over pursuing. But I feel like he's played pretty disciplined football. You go back to this last week against the Raiders, that's where you saw the most improvement. Comes down with a big interception, and I thought played a really, really good, sound game of football. So, just really, really excited to see the development from him thus far already in 2 games. And he's starting to turn into the linebacker that we thought he could have been when we drafted him in the 3rd round. And I think people were disappointed last year because he was just playing specials, and maybe there was a reason for that. Maybe it was just kind of getting him acclimated to the league because he didn't really have a body for the league either. So he put on a little bit of weight in the offseason here. He looks a little bit bigger. Not that he's a big guy anyways, Yeah. To me, he's a safety playing linebacker right now, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Thomas Davis early on in his career. And if he could be like Thomas Davis, I am A-okay with that because that would be fantastic. Minus the 3 ACL tears, but even so, Thomas Davis, unbelievable linebacker, who played for Sean McDermott in the Panthers defense.
We got Jessica coming in saying, "Hey guys, good to see you, Jessica. I haven't seen you for a while." But she actually called it, when I put that video out, and I was like, "Who's going to be starting at middle linebacker?"
Yeah,
and
she did.
She said, even without him playing in preseason, if he's healthy, he starts week 1, and he absolutely did. So good call there, Jessica. Let's see what else. Brett saying Fields came out with some criticism towards the coaches. DC may have been upset and quit. Yeah. Big happy. So, you should have asked our guys on our fantasy football show yesterday, Chris and Jeremy. But I'll tell you what, Big Happy. If you join our Discord and you go to our fantasy football thread and ask that question, Chris or Jeremy will give you some good information. I don't know if I put the link after the show. I'll put the link in our Discord, and you can join that. And anyone. I would love for all of you in the channel right now to join our Discord because we're talking all week long. But if you want fantasy football information. So, Jake, I know you're in a lot of fantasy football leagues. Do you have any help
I'm in
for
10.
Big Happy? Do you have any help for
I
Big
like
Happy
what Brett
right
said here. Tony Adams Jr., running back for the Saints, looked really physical, played extremely well against the Panthers. Looks like Jamal Williams is going to miss some time. And, of course, Alvin Kamara is still suspended, so that's not a bad option. Now, you got to remember, Alvin Kamara will be coming back in week 4, so Tony Adams is only a temporary guy, but I still think he'll get some touches even once Alvin Kamara is back. Another guy to maybe look into, of course, I still think Jerome Ford still serves some fantasy value, even though the Browns did just sign Kareem Hunt. Jerome Ford, is obviously plays with the Browns, and he filled in for Nick Chubb, ends up having 106 yards against the Steelers on Monday night and looked really, really good. Played a very physical game as well as a running back there. So I still think he has a little bit of value, too. Chuba Hubbard's a good name, too. The really interesting situation.
Maybe that.
Well, yeah, Kareem Hunt, but I think
not in a
14-team league. That's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, you look at the running backs around the league right now. It's especially in a 14-team league. I mean, shoot. Latavius Murray's a name. You could bank on him scoring a touchdown, but I feel like he's kind of in the same boat as Damian Harris.
Yeah.
Devon Achane for the Dolphins. Pretty solid backup. Finally getting some carries for them as well. Played in his first game last week. That might be another name as well. But the problem is you can't trust a Mike McDaniel running back. You can't trust anyone on that team really for fantasy except for Tyreek Hill and maybe Jalen Waddle. But, that's all I got for you, brother. I think you go into our fantasy football Discord, you put it out there, and Chris and Jeremy will get back to you on
Chris
that.
And Jeremy, and they go live every Tuesday and Wednesdays, and it's a Q&A session, man. I actually needed some help because I was coming off a loss. I was coming off a win, so I'm 1-1 in fantasy, and I had my running backs are terrible, and I asked them for a suggestion. They gave me a good one, and I think I got them. I got to take a look at the waiver wire. Let's see here. We made a decision, the right decision, to not pay Edmonds. Totally agree. It's just way too much. Totally agree. Now, I would like to see Kirksey elevated. I think maybe they're playing that very safe because you can only elevate a guy, 3 times before you have to sign him to the 53-man roster.
That's right.
And I do worry, if Benford... Now, this is not the game I would elevate him. I should say that off the top of my head because I think we should win this game. You'll see that in my prediction. But for the Dolphins, I believe Kirksey should be elevated. Because if Bernard or even Milano get hurt, I want Kirksey coming in.
I like that. I think so. No disrespect to the Commanders, but when you do look at the Dolphins' offense, I think the weapons are a little bit better there. But again, I mean, the Commanders, they have a really solid team. They got 2 really strong running backs. They have 3 viable options at receiver. So, I mean, I think the sooner the better. He should be on the active roster just because he is that good. I think he's better than Tyrell Dotson. So, to me, he should be our backup inside linebacker.
Elevate him and don't worry about it. Three, get him on the active roster. I agree with that.
Without a doubt.
Good point.
Yep.
Track reviewer, Bernard will be a 100 tackle guy this year. He's not quite on pace, but I could see it. Actually, he is. There's 17 games. What am I thinking? Of course. I think he will be. As long as he stays healthy, track reviewer. And let's see here. What do we got? Topper, Bernard is looking decent out there. Yep, agree. We just talked about that. And all right, it says Mike, you got Williams for all your fantasy cash. So Kyren Williams was available. And I asked Jake and Jeremy, what do I put on the fab? I said I had a $250 fab. They said all of it. All of it. He can make a huge difference.
These are only... Yeah, I mean, they just traded Cam Akers away to Minnesota, so now it's just him. Yeah, and he looks good. He scored touchdowns in the last, I think, 2 games, so why not, Mike?
So I spotted everybody in our league. 1 game. Watch out. Bronx Bombers. I changed the name of my team, too. It's always been Bronx Bombers. So watch out. Bronx Bombers are coming. You know who the Bronx Bombers were known as? What's that reference to?
This is this is baseball terminology here.
Yeah? Who were the Bronx Bombers?
That was the New York Yankees, I believe.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
But we're talking Mickey Mantle and
you made me proud.
Yeah. This is many, many moons ago. I was not born, but hell of a nickname.
So Dolphins game is worth 1.5 games. Yeah. Imagine. So this is why we can't overlook this team. So the Dolphins are playing the Broncos, I think.
Yes.
Right?
Let me look, actually. Hold on. I'm actually not. 1 second here. I got to pull that up because I'm actually.
The Jets are playing the Patriots.
Right.
Yeah.
Dolphins schedule. It is the Broncos. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
All right. So the assumption is, they'll beat the Broncos. Now, this is why we cannot overlook this game. My goodness, if we overlook this game and they win, we're now 2 games behind. And now we have a must-win in Week 4, a must-win, or else we're 3 games behind. This is a huge game for us. I mean, don't overlook the Commanders. My score is going to show you. I'm not overlooking these Commanders, but no way. It kind of feels a little bit like, to me, like the Jaguars a couple of years ago when we lost 9-6. That's what I'm, and I'm not saying we're going to lose like that, but that team, what we're seeing from the Commanders, I feel is every bit as good, if not better, than those Jaguars were a couple years ago when they beat us. So,
oh, well, they're definitely better than that team. That Jaguars team was a 3-13 team. But you're right. Yeah, absolutely right. And what was Brett saying here, too? Izzy Abanaconda. Great name. Running back for the Jets. Another good option for you, Big Happy. He is the 3rd back there, but being behind Brees and Delvin Cook, I think he's going to start getting some more touches because Delvin looks a little out of shape right now.
Big Happy, what team are you a fan of? What team do you follow, man? Or is it just fantasy football? Got to be a team. Got to be a team you love. What team?
Hopefully he's a Bills fan. That'd be great.
I'm hoping. Yeah. Washington has some dogs, he says.
They sure do.
Topper, thanks for confirming. They're playing Denver. That's the Dolphins. And I think I think the way to beat Miami is to use a similar game plan like we used against the Raiders.
100%. It's all bend, don't break, and it's really about just getting Josh into a rhythm and not making errant throws and looking downfield and trying to go for the home run. That's really what it comes down to.
A little bit harder though against the Dolphins because you got to play some good defense as well. That's going to be
For sure.
a slugfest, and again, that's why I would love to see Kyer Elam elevated here in the near future, so he's available for that game. Would love to see him there.
Yep.
Cowboys fan, all right, man, your Cowboys are looking good.
So I think the Cowboys are on top of the NFC East, in my opinion. I think they are the best team in that division right now, and boy, wouldn't it be something if we ended up playing them in the Super Bowl in Vegas.
Ooh, I would love it.
Tough history against the Cowboys in the Super Bowl,
time's
but third time's a charm.
We did it the third time. Yeah. Let's go. But yeah, I mean, they're looking scary. I mean, but again, they played a Jet team that the offense is just not the same with Zach Wilson. And, Micah Parsons is at another level right now. But it's going to be interesting. We're going to play these teams, Jake. We're going to play them. We're going to get a true test on towards the end of the season. I think we play these teams, right?
That's right.
We played Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas is late, like week 15 or something like that. And listen, Big Happy, no disrespect, but don't even talk to us about heartbreak, all right? Listen,
please.
You got your 3 Super Bowls. Holy smokes, man. But you're absolutely right. Micah Parsons is a game changer, and it is unbelievable. I mean, you see what he even does before the snap. He's like acting like a basketball player, messing with the center, messing with their alignments. He is a game. I mean, he wreaks havoc on any offense. He's a game wrecker for any offense. It's absolutely insane what he's doing. 100% Defensive Player of the Year. Well, maybe between him and T.J. Watt. That's the only competition he maybe has.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, that Pittsburgh defense looked pretty damn good yesterday.
Oh, they sure did. Yeah.
Big Happy, the 3 Super Bowls. Listen, man, I was a young man in the 90s, and I saw your Dallas team beat us twice.
Hey, we got Leon Lett, though. We got him on that fumble recovery.
We got Don Beebe. We'll always remember that play. We'll always find a positive somehow, some way.
That's right.
Let's see. Jessica coming in, and Freighters barely beat the Broncos. The Commanders barely Broncos. It tells me that the Commanders are as good as the Raiders.
Okay. I like that logic, Jessica. You're not wrong with that.
Yeah.
If we use that, it should be a big day for us then.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it is.
I feel like they have more pieces on defense. That's the only thing. I give them an edge on defense because
I do too.
Chandler Jones was out. If Chandler Jones was in that game, it might have been a slightly different story. I still think we win that game handily, but still.
Yeah.
What else we got here?
Definitely agree with that.
A lot of folks love it, chatting it up. In fact, the last game I went to was versus the Broncos, and the game was almost moved to Monday night due to the Broncos being unable to get out of Denver due to the snow.
I think I remember that. Was that okay, so are we talking, was that J.P. Lossman against the Broncos in like 2007-ish? So we're talking Jay Cutler's maybe his rookie year or something like that with Denver? Could be.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to think. I remember we played a night game against Denver, and it was back in the mid to late 2000s. And I think our coach was Dick Geron.
1996.
Oh, okay, that one. Okay, that was. I can't recall that. I was 3 years old then, so not trying to make anyone feel old here, but I was young buck.
I don't know who this guy is. Bill Thornton coming in with preseason week 3 equals win. What does that mean? I don't know. What is he talking about there?
Bill's already ready for the playoffs. He's calling every game now leading up to the playoffs preseason. So I'm with you, Bill. I think it's a big win. Absolutely.
All right. Jessica, we got you here. So Jessica's had 3 times trying to type fast. You got it right this time. Raiders barely beat the Broncos. Commanders barely beat the Broncos. Tells me the Commanders are about the same as the Raiders.
Yeah. I hope that's true because I can get behind that logic for sure. But sometimes it doesn't pan out that way all the time. That's hilarious, by the way.
J.P. Lossman sounds like a name you give the police when you don't want to be a witness. That is funny.
I have a J.P. Lossman jersey that I'm going to wear one show.
No, it was our preseason predictions.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, I got it.
Yep,
Preseason.
that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Gotcha.
So week 3 is a win. Yeah, we need to go look back at our predictions. I mean, I was 12-5. You were 13-4, and I think my dad was 12-5. We got there maybe on slightly different game, but
Yep.
we were pretty close on all the games we picked, and that's rare for my dad and I to agree there. So, yeah. So week 3, all of us have as a win. So let's go. And again, this is our anniversary, our 2-year anniversary. 2 years ago,
I know
the
it.
first show you did with me was when we were playing the Commanders, and we whooped the Commanders in week 3 at Highmark this time. Let's do it again. So anyhow, it is that time. Let's get into the actual score predictions. I know some folks in the channel gave it, but there's some late joiners. So what's your score predictions in the channel? And Jake, let me throw it to you and give us, give me that Jake Podger full breakdown of what's going to happen during the game.
This.
Let's go.
Well, listen, I think, as I mentioned for the Bills, 0 punts, but I think the Commanders are going to have quite a few. They're going to have to rely on one of their key players, Tress Way, who I do not give enough credit to, man. This guy is one of the best punters in the league. He's been doing it for a while. Unbelievable player for them. I don't think he gets enough credit. It's unfortunate, you never want a punter to be one of your better players on the team, but when it comes down to it and he does need to punt the ball, he does a hell of a job for him. So I think it will be a bit of a field position battle, but like I said, the Bills aren't going to be punting. The Commanders are going to be doing all the punting. And to start this off, though, I think it's going to be a little slow start for both teams. And the first quarter, I'm going to say is going to go scoreless. And there's going to be some punts. And the Bills are going to go for it twice, and they're actually not going to make it. Ooh. So that's why we're not. Yeah. So that's how we're not punting. Like I said, no turnovers, but we're not punting. So it's going to be a scoreless first quarter. But then in the second quarter, the Bills are going to turn it on a little bit. We're going to be methodical with our approach, and we're finally going to score because third time's a charm, as we've been saying this entire show, Mike. So at that point, I think the Bills will take a little bit of a command against the Commanders. And I feel pretty strong about Steph Diggs going for over 100 this game. So I think he's going to eat it up. And those two tight ends are both going to have 50-plus yards. And I'm going to tell you this as well. I think Gabe Davis is going to come out strong with another really good performance. I'm going to say he has 5 catches for 66 yards. And we're going to turn it on with him more so in the second half. He's going to be our second half guy. First half guy is going to be Steph Diggs. He's going to get the ball rolling. So I think the first half is going to end with kind of a lower scoring first half. It's going to be like 10-3 in the Bills' favor. But then the second half is where we're going to build off of that. Because I believe this year, if there's anything we need to prove, it's the fact that we can finish games and finish them strong and not just take like a little bit of a lead and then take the foot off the gas. So this second half is going to be crucial for us. I think the Bills are going to go down right away. They're going to score. It's going to be a 17-3 game. Maybe Washington comes back with another punch thrown at us, right? But after that, the Bills are going to just soar to victory. I think the final score here, 24-13 Bills.
All right. I like it. And then track of year, perfect timing.
JP
There
Dumont.
was also a Sabre named JP Dumont. And speaking of the
Great
Sabres, if you don't know already, I mentioned it earlier at the top of the show. Buffalo Sabre show coming to Nickel City Mafia October 3rd. We got 2 guys that grew up in Buffalo, New York, passionate, big Sabre fans, and I can't wait. Jake, I mean, you know who they are, Timmy and Sam. Timmy and Sam from Buffalo, both UB folks, went to UB. One of them still going to UB. It's going to be a fantastic show, so check that out, October 3rd, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Buffalo Sabre show comes to Nickel City Mafia. So let's see here. Jessica, what's your prediction there? Did she already give the prediction? Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. I didn't see it. So who else hasn't given a prediction yet? Dad, if you're still out there, what were you predicting? Or do you even do that? Maybe my dad doesn't like to do predictions. But anyhow, for me, I think it's going to be a close one. Not close, I'm sorry. It's not a blowout by no means. We're favored by 6.5 points. The gentleman asked me last week if the Bills covered. At that point, it was 9.5 early in the week, and then it got down to 8.5. And I said, when it was 9.5 is when we did our show. I said we don't cover, and we didn't. I mean, we did cover by a big time. I do think we covered the 6.5 points. I do. I think it's lower scoring. And what was your score? What did you give the Bills?
24-13.
24-13. So I think it's around there. I was thinking in the 27 range, but I'm not going to steal my dad's. So, yeah, I actually am. I'm going to say 27-20. We covered.
Okay.
We covered the
Wow.
spread.
All
By
right.
the way, did you? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a better, but did you see? Was it last week? What game was it? I think it was the Rams game where they kicked the field goal.
Yeah, they cut. Unbelievable.
The spread was covered, so whoever bet on the Niners had it covered, had it won. It was probably counting their money.
Yep.
And with like no time on the clock, they kicked the field goal, and so you gotta wonder about those type of
Little
things.
suspect. Maybe
Very
some coaches had some money on that game. Who knows?
Very suspect.
I'm surprised there wasn't an investigation into that because I haven't heard anything about that since. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it's funny because Ian, our guy, he was on the other side of that. And he ended up winning a bet because of that. So pretty incredible.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah, he was all fired up.
So my dad comes in at 27-17. I love it. Jessica coming in big, 34-13.
Love it, Jessica. Hell yeah.
Basically, you're predicting the score of the Raider game again, but you're giving Washington 3 more points. That's good.
That's what I predicted last week, actually. Bills against Raiders, 34-13. So I like that a lot.
Nice.
And also coming in with this fact again, yes, we talked about this actually. So she had asked the question, how many winning seasons does Ron Rivera actually have? He only has 3 winning seasons of 13 years as a head coach. Pretty interesting stat line.
Wow. Well, that's been a fun show. I love the interaction with the group. Again, you guys make this show. It's so much more fun when we get the folks out there in the channel interacting. So thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate you. Jake, what else? I mean, is there anything else? I feel like my family's away. They actually went to see an LA Galaxy game in LA.
Oh, that's cool.
It's 2 hours away. Obviously, if you don't know who the LA Galaxy are, they're a soccer team. And my son and my wife went out there to watch them. So I got all the time in the world right now.
All right, I love it.
Well, anything else you wanted to talk about? Anything else the channel wants to talk about? Be great.
The Bills announced they're wearing the white on whites, so the Stormtrooper uniforms, which I think are really sharp. They look really good on the field, so I'm curious to see if the Commanders end up going burgundy on burgundy. I will say their uniforms starting to grow on me a little bit more. I wasn't a huge fan of them at first. I think even the Commanders name, I'm still not a fan of that. I think there's a chance that they do rebrand again. Especially with Josh Harris being the new owner there. So I know he had mentioned that, but maybe that'd be kind of cool. It would look nice, burgundy on burgundy against white on white. So just another random one for you there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I do think they're going to change the name. I mean, Commanders, just the Washington Commanders.
It's just so cheesy. Like it just doesn't even, they should have done like Red Tails. I think that would have been awesome. You could have kept not the same logo or anything like that, but you could have kind of kept like the theme a little bit. I think it would have been super cool. But just a lot of missed opportunities.
The Kansas City Chiefs, and that's okay. Come up with a different name.
Yeah,
like, similar but different, obviously.
Right.
And I mean, there's so much history with that team.
There's so much like the fan art out there too. If you ever just like Google like the different concepts that some of these fans came up with, and how they could have like repurposed that uniform and still made it like traditional, and not like it is now. Gosh, they really missed the boat on that one.
I'd like to see the Bills use the helmets, the red helmets. The red helmets were nice.
Hey,
man.
Josh Allen teased it in the preseason.
They were nice. Let me tell you. I love those helmets. And Warhawks, kind of like that. Washington Warhawks.
That'd be kind of cool.
Flows nicely, yeah.
Alliteration. Yep.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Very good idea there. Yeah.
For
so
sure.
I think that's about it, Jake. I mean, let's get this win, and then one game at a time, and then of course week 4 got the Dolphins coming to town. Man, every game, big games.
Every game counts. Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway from this, Mike. You have it right in the title. No game is to be overlooked, and this team is very talented. They're 2-0 for a reason. They battle hard. They battle right to the very end. You know it's not going to be an easy dub by any means, but I think while these people in the comments here even have us winning by a big margin, I think they all understand that this Bills team, they can have their moments where they let you down and they take the foot off the gas, and they can let these teams that are inferior take advantage of them and end up getting a big win for them, So that's the key to this, really, is just not to let up. And I think you worded it perfectly here in our title of the show.
All right. Let's see. How about the Washington Weaklings?
Nice. I like it.
Maybe we'll have a show where we just kind of come up with some new names for them.
Different
and then
team names.
Submit it to the NFL.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you heard a story. There was a guy who was in Buffalo tailgating last week and decided to get a little dirty, covered himself in literal poop, and he was on like a mix of drugs. It was like LSD, cocaine,
Oh my
and
God.
of course he was probably drinking too. I think he did marijuana as well. Ends up jumping into the hole of where the new stadium is being built, and I don't know if he was super injured or what, but. Nonetheless, I'm sure he's probably banned for life from the stadium, and it is just like the most Buffalo thing to happen at a tailgate. So, of course, something like that has to happen. I think my brother-in-law, he was sitting next to me. He got an alert on his phone saying, like, Erie County MD or something reporting some guy jumped in a hole and is injured, severely intoxicated, something like that. So, classic.
How far away is the new stadium? Like, if you go to...
Oh, it's right across the street.
Oh, really? It's that
yeah,
close.
It's literally, yeah, yep.
I forgot to ask you, so how did the Raider fans turn out last week? And how was the atmosphere? I mean, were there a lot of... Did you see any incidents occur?
No, there was one guy...
Can be tough.
Raider fans, yeah, so my theory with this is, ever since they moved to Las Vegas, the fan base isn't quite the same. They're not the black hole, and they're not like this super intense, passionate fan base. Now, there's still the OGs that probably still make the trip out to Vegas on a weekly basis or whatever. But I talked to a few Raider fans, and I was asking them about that and how the dynamic was now. And they said, unfortunately, a lot of those Oakland fans are a little pissed off that obviously they moved out of Oakland and out of California in general. So I don't think it's the same following and same loyalty that it used to be, and it's unfortunate because you hate to see that rich history just kind of robbed away from a city like that. So while there were still a pretty good amount of fans, I didn't see the same Raider passion that I typically see, and I still think they're out there. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting to see some like skulls and bones and stuff, and people dressed up, but there wasn't any of that. The coolest thing I think I saw was a guy wearing a Lyle Alzado jersey. That was kind of neat. I always try to pick out the most unique jersey I could find, and I think that was it. So there was also a guy wearing a Darren McFadden jersey. That was kind of cool, too.
Yeah, years ago when the Raiders were playing in L.A., the L.A. Raiders at the Coliseum, my dad and I had preseason tickets, and we go to that game. And, again, I was a young man wearing Zumba pants. I wore the Zumbas. The Bills Zumbas. Didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there. We had great seats. And I have to go use the restroom. And, of course, this is closer to halftime. Now, some people have been drinking. And I had two big Raider dudes come up there. It's preseason. I don't remember the score. And they were threatening me. I mean, I was like, guys, calm down, man. It's just preseason game.
Yeah.
Sorry I wore the Zumbas. I won't make that mistake again. I tried to talk my way out of it because there was no way. Now, my dad's a brawler. Now, if my dad had seen it, he'd probably want to brawl with them. Because,
wow.
I could tell you many stories about my dad. He's a brawler. Let me just tell you.
Bill Thornton, don't mess with him, man.
Do not mess with that man.
There we go.
Let's see. What do we got here?
He's saying 1964 Oakland and Bills on his table right now, 7-6 at the end of the first half. Guy missed the extra point. By the way, yeah, go check out Bill's channel. You should definitely check that out. He plays a lot of these vintage board games, and it's therapeutic actually watching. I got to say, Bill, you do a really nice job with that. I enjoy watching those. I go back from time to time. I watch some of your series and whatnot. I watch some of your newer ones as well, and yeah, you do a really good job with that. So appreciate you putting those out there.
Yeah, he's SoCal Saber on YouTube. And actually, if you want to, he does board games. He does like 1 or 2 video games, which are kind of cool. But yeah, if you ask him, hey, have you ever, what about this game? If he doesn't have it, he'll actually buy it and then go put it on his table and give you a review of it. So good stuff there.
I was watching him play the truck simulator the one day.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty
simulator.
Cool. Yeah.
And he has he used to be an air traffic controller in the Air Force.
Yes, I saw that one too.
That one I enjoy a lot.
Yeah, that's cool.
A lot.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out. I'll put his link in the description. So we're going to have the Discord. And again, I would love all of you right now to go to our Discord and chat with us during the week. Why wait for Wednesday and Sundays?
That's right.
Sunday nights. Talk to us all week long. We love it. It's absolutely free. We don't charge a thing. So join us. And if you're fantasy football, Buffalo Bills, Sabres, we have threads in there. You can talk about everything. So it's a lot of
Washington
fun.
Watergates.
Washington Watergates.
That's awesome.
Big,
that's a good one.
What's this one? Oakland might lose the A's as well. Ooh, that would be
Yeah,
tough.
it's an awful situation out there. It's unfortunate because I feel like it's such a passionate fan base. The whole city of Oakland, like they have the Golden State Warriors there, but the fact that you already lost the Raiders and now it's definitely going to be the A's too. It sucks, man. You hate to see it.
Yeah. So then Dad's like Oakland Bills. I'm gonna tell you up 7-6 and the first. That's the extra point. Yep. Anytime, Dad. Great stuff. I'm actually gonna give a shout out too for he's got a charity event going on, and I'll talk about that on our next show here, and I'll put the link in our channel. Jake and I are talking about doing another holiday event. We did it last year. We raised money for a child with cancer, a family who has a child with cancer. I've reached out to the Punt Foundation. They did get back to me recently, so we're going to try to set that up again. But my dad does a great event every year. I actually participate in it as well. You basically play games for 24 hours straight, and you're raising money. It's for the Children's Hospital Network. You're raising funds for that, and he's done it now. I forget, Dad, how many years have you done that? 4 or 5 years, maybe a little bit more. It's a great time. Somebody has to stay up on your team for 24 hours straight. But we start raising money ahead of time as well. It's great stuff. 7 years. 7 years he's been doing it now, and it's a good time. So I'll put out that link. We'll talk about it next time. I'll bring it up, Dad. I'll get more information so I represent it right. Jessica, Thought Warriors, new places.
I thought it was right across the bridge from the Coliseum. I thought it was real close to that, but I could be wrong. I'm not sure. Yeah. Although right across the bridge is technically San Fran, so you might be right on that.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, I think that's it. I mean, let's go. This has been so much fun. Again, if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, and drop a nickel on that subscribe button. And it's so much more fun when you guys join us. So thank you for all the support. And Jake, once again, happy anniversary. Let's bring home the victory. Yeah. Let's rewind it 2 years ago. We brought home the big win on our first show together. Let's bring home the big win again here 2 years later, playing the same team, same week 3. That's just crazy. It's crazy to me.
It is. Anyhow, it's eerie. It's awesome though.
It is crazy. It's amazing. So anyhow, thank you as always, Jake. Thank you as always, everyone out there in the channel. We'll see you Sunday night for the post-game reaction. I expect us to be all happy campers. Let's go. Everyone take care. Go Bills.
Go Bills.